this is Stan, and I'm back in Las Vegas. It's Saturday afternoon, our friends, and you are listening to Light Talk.
Good afternoon, this is Ann at LDI, and today we are live from Las Vegas to answer your questions, all on Light Talk.
Good morning, this is Brackley, and I actually live in Las Vegas. And you are tuned in to Light Talk.
And this is David coming to you from the beautiful Las Vegas Convention Center. And if you don't already know, you are listening to Light Talk, and we are the Lumen Brothers.
And sister, how many times do I have to tell them?
Ann is back.
Ann is back. Welcome, everyone, to episode 295. And this is our, sixth year? And, this is our fifth year, I believe.
Stop counting.
And this is our sixth year. Anyway, well, it's great to be back in Vegas, Brackley's territory. And it's always good to see such a great, jovial audience. Wow. We are filled to the rafters. I mean, we are in the rafters. So anyway, many of our friends are here with us, and we're going to have a fun 45 minutes of semi-serious shenanigans going on here. First, we must acknowledge who's not here. Our brother Steve Woods had to cancel his trip at the last moment due to an unfortunate kiln accident at SMU.
He's doing ceramics. He's doing ceramics now.
He's doing ceramics, right. For the first time in decades, Steve is missing LDI, and so Steve.
We miss you, Steve.
We miss
you, buddy.
We miss you, Steve.
Yeah, okay. So today we have Stan, Brackley, and me, and a wonderful surprise. Our prodigal SISTAH, Ann McMills, is with us. She's returned to us. She was our
first guest host.
She was our first guest host. And she was really our first Lumen sister.
She was, that's
true.
She
was definitely our first.
She's a Lumen original.
She was a Lumen original, or semi-original, because I think you were on in the first season, right?
Yeah, I was.
You were.
You thought I was okay enough to come back. So
several times, and you're always welcome.
Did you pay her enough to come back?
Well, you mean, no, she was.
I'm still waiting for the check.
So many of our friends are waiting for the check. It's amazing they still consider us friends. Anyway, but what a treat to have you with us today. We really did miss you.
Yeah, and I was going to say, speaking of sisters, we're also missing Ellen, although you may have seen her around. She's a little busy today. She's everywhere this week. She pretty much runs this crazy convention. So it's almost impossible for her to be here with us for our specific brand of insanity. She's got her own going on. If you listen to the show, you just know how important she is to us. So we love you, Ellen. Thank you for an amazing show, and we'll see you around. Yeah.
Also, Brother Zach Barve is here in the convention center, a couple doors down, teaching projections masterclass, so we miss him as well.
And that's right. And then we also have Brother Driscoll Otto, who is not here.
Yeah, we don't know where Driscoll is. He's probably
designing somewhere. He's just designing something somewhere.
So some of you may wonder why we have so many brothers and sisters. Well, they just keep popping up. We have no idea where they're coming from.
We're propagating.
We are propagating. I don't know. I think it's
perpetuation of our species.
Yeah, the Lumen species. All right, so for those who are not familiar with our show, or maybe you're just enticed to enter the room to check out the wonderful swag that's in the back room there. I mean, how many people have shot glasses that are giving away? And what do we have? We have the shot glasses.
We had coffee cups.
We have the coffee cups, right?
Not dishwater, safe coffee.
Yeah, the coffee cups aren't here anymore because there's been
limited edition.
They were limited edition. They will continue to be limited edition, right? But I'll let Stan tell you a little bit about what Light Talk is all about.
You want to know how it started. So
yeah.
I do like to tell this story.
Well, tell the story.
All right. So, you wrote it down, but I may embellish it.
Oh, my God. It's going to be a while. Everybody get out your drinks.
Back. Okay. No, I mean, really, it did. It all started from a silly phone conversation because I was going to buy some moving lights, and I didn't know enough about which ones to buy. Plus, I'm cheap, so I wanted to really understand. So I'm having a conversation with David on the phone. What is it, 2016 it says?
Yeah, 2016.
And then he says, we should ask Steve. He's getting some of these lights. So we do a conference call. We get Steve on the line. The three of us are on this conference call, having a good time, cracking each other up, and we're talking about LED lighting fixtures. And yeah, we're geeking out. So we had this epiphany. We thought, wouldn't it be great for our students if they had access to all this knowledge from various designers and technicians in the business? So the silly internet talk show seemed to be a good delivery system, and a podcast seemed an easy and cheap way to do it. And we figured, yeah, Tom and Ray did it on Car Talk, so why don't we just do a Light Talk thing? And the next thing you know, if they did it with cars, we could do it with lights. So off we went. And so we've been doing this thing for 6 years because people keep downloading it. we thought it was going to end after Bobby Hale, I don't know if he showed up. Yeah. He said, oh, you'll do 3 episodes. What's going to be left to talk about? You know, what's lighting?
That's the extent of your knowledge, 3 episodes.
Right. And so here we are. So now we have, according to this script, 6 years, 295 episodes. Our shows have been downloaded over 350,000 times.
Whoa.
That's remarkable. In 138 countries and territories, including the infamous Faroe Islands, where we will be opening a franchise at some point. You know, at the end of a semester at a university, they ask you what your long-term plan was, long-term goals. I used to write to have an impact on lighting education globally.
Security, can you please remove this young lady from the room?
Please silence your cell phones.
Oh, I gotta silence my cell phone. Oh, good thing I didn't. Okay.
Anyway, I thought that was a pipe dream. That would never happen. But it was sort of a dream that we would have create a community of lighting people in this way. And there is now a community across the globe. So it's really a remarkable achievement. And thanks to you all.
You know, there's really no reason that we can think of why this is happening, but it's like a runaway train. All I can say that it's a lot of fun, and we find new listeners and fans of the show just about everywhere we go. I mean, when I travel, so people say, "Oh yeah, you're that idiot from Light Talk, right?" You know, and I say, "Yeah, I'm one of the idiots. Not the idiot, but I'm one of them."
I just have one thing to add there, David. Yesterday I was in the portfolio reviews and somebody behind me said, "Wait, I recognize your voice. You're from Light Talk."
That happens to me. That happens to me.
Yeah, it's crazy. So we find them everywhere, and you know, sometimes we see them even wearing Light Talk swag.
Well, so speaking of swag, we have free limited edition Light Talk shot glasses and Light Talk stickers at the door. If you missed out and did not get one on your way in, stop by the stage after the show and we'll be happy to give you one, or until we run out.
And if you're anything like me, you're wondering, what's with the fezzes?
Yeah, what's with the fezzes? Stan?
Me?
Yeah, that's your line. This happens all the time. That's all right.
So with that, no, that's not my line. Where's my line?
There you go. You see? We have 6.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to read this. So we have 6 limited edition and instant collector item Light Talk fezzes sitting here on the table to be awarded to the audience members who are fortunate enough to have their questions picked randomly out of an ice bucket stolen from the Westgate Hotel, of course.
Right here. Yeah. Westgate Hotel.
So please print your name and your question on the index card you received at the front desk. The voice of Light Talk, Lori Cooper, is presently walking around the room with the stolen ice bucket. This already happened already.
That happened already. The stolen ice bucket already happened.
I know how to read my lines.
We will then reach into the ice bucket and randomly pick a question out of it. A little advice, if you happen to wrap your index card in a $20 bill, it'll be much easier to answer.
That's it.
If your question is chosen, then you'll come up here and choose one of these beautiful fezzes from England, of all places. England, yeah. One of these fezzes has a secret code in it. And at the end of the show, we will announce what that code is. If your fez has it, then you will win a free appearance as a Lumen brother or sister or anybody, right, of the day. Meaning that you will be a guest host for one of our episodes. Talk about instant fame.
Yeah. It worked last year. It worked
last year. You know, we had an amazing young man on the show, Jordan, and he was a guest host for the day. Yes. It was awesome.
He was
great. It's totally random.
So with that, let's get started. Stan, why don't you put your golden fingers into the ice bucket? Don't look, and then
I'm looking for the $20 bill.
There's no 20s here. We maybe announce
there's no $20 bills.
Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right, first question.
I can't blow it like Johnny Carson because I'm wearing a mask.
That's right.
Blow on it.
All right, can you read that?
Remember when you started in light? Oh, okay, good question. Doesn't say who it is.
That's right. Just say that they'll identify themselves.
Remember when you started in lighting? Tell us about it.
Who asked that question? Thank you.
Very nice.
All right, you're gonna get a fez in a second. So go ahead, Nancy.
Can you repeat?
Why don't you come on up and pick a fez now, since you're here? Okay, there you go. There's a fez. What's your name? John what?
Sean.
Sean
Greger.
Sean Kreger. Well, nice to meet you, Sean. Like your
Greger.
tats, man.
Thank you so
Look
much.
awesome.
Well with the
Oh,
face.
you know, of course he
very
picks
nice,
the
very
center
nice.
one. Yeah, there you go. Awesome.
He's a good sport. He's a good sport.
I'll buy you a drink on the floor later, okay, if you bring it. Okay.
I have to answer it?
Yes, you got to answer the question.
Oh, me first?
Right, remember when you started in lighting? Tell us about it.
The show was hair. The place was New York. I was like 9 years old. My aunt, who was a very straight-laced librarian, loved the opera, loved the theater, took me there. We're watching Hair. I can't remember, was Hair or Fiddler? One of the two. Maybe it was both.
Hair's
Might have been the
without
same year. And I just remember loving the show and looking up and going, how are they making this magic? And I thought, wouldn't that be something to it just seems so mystical to me. So that was the seed that was planted. And then I think fast forward to like high school, and I was one of those geeky guys with the pocket protector, you know, kind of like the AV squad.
No.
Remember the AV squad?
I was AV squad in high school. That's how I got
AV
involved.
I
squad.
was AV squad.
But if you were really cool on the AV squad and you can thread the projectors, which I could do because my dad was a photographer and I learned how to do that, you could be elevated to the stage squad. Now, the stage squad was a step above the AV squad. You weren't just showing movies in the classrooms. We had a thing in Brooklyn called Sing, and I got to run the lighting system. And the really cool thing is you got power because they gave you keys. So to be in high school, so I really liked having the keys and then relationships with the principals and all that. And I just fell in love with it. But my parents said, no. Law school, medical school, that you cannot. We go to see the shows. You don't work on the shows. But I ended up in it. But I did fall in love with the magic that light creates on stage, and it makes, and it's obviously stuck. So.
All right,
Yeah.
I guess we'll go right across the table. Mine's going to be a lot shorter than Stan's. It was Alice Cooper 1969 concert. That was it. I loved it because he had this lighting operator who had a little lighting touching board, right, or a little switchboard that controlled like 4 par 64 strip lights on the front of the stage as footlights, and basically played the light organ to Alice. And Alice is an amazing theatrical artist, and we still will go see him. Lori and I went to see him last year, and you know, an awesome artist. So yeah, that's when it started for me. Ann.
Gosh, I'll try to make mine quick. I was in high school, and my mother was doing community theater, and I saw the lighting there and was enchanted by it. I don't know what it was, but I was like, I want to do that. So I found out you could be on the crew in my high school. This was my freshman year, I think. And so I tried to be on the crew, and I told them that I wanted to do lighting. And the lighting was these 2 boys, and they were named the 2 Light Crew, if anybody gets that joke from 2 Light
Two
Crew.
Light.
Yeah.
Light Crew.
So they were the 2 Light Crew. And I was told that girls don't do lighting. So, yes, I was then asked to run sound and to sew banners and like all these things. It was such a mistake to ask me to do. But I still wanted to do lighting, so I went to my community theater and I started running the light board there. And, you know, here I am today. And those 2 boys are not in theater, so there we go.
So for me, it was Wizard of Oz, 1973, high school. I flunked projectors because I couldn't thread the damn things. But they let me on stage where I was able to do the old auto transformer dimmers, and I just loved doing that. I loved changing the lights. I loved seeing what the light reflects off of people. It was just wonderful. And then the rest is history.
All right, time for our next question. Ann, it's your turn to go into the Westgate bucket.
I need some more gambling money. Where's the money?
There's the money.
All right. Mine is. It says, "Can I be a guest on your next podcast?" Jason.
Send one. Yes.
Lost you.
Jason Lawshe. Nice to meet
Yeah,
you,
we'll go down
man.
the-
Grab a
we'll
fez.
Pick one.
Yeah, it's got to be a lucky fez.
Now we have to vote, though, right? Can you? The question is, can you?
Oh, and
We need to vote.
we're going to talk about it. So
a blind
thank you
vote.
very much,
That's a
Jason.
great question.
All right. Can I be a guest on the podcast? How much money do you have? I don't know. Since it's your questions, go ahead.
Well, there is a smiley face, and it
yeah.
has a little nose and everything. So I'm going to say yes.
Especially if you have the code, right?
Oh, yeah.
The code. Well, we don't know which hat he
see,
took,
we'll
so we'll see. But I do know that we are always welcoming guests on our talk show, and we've had what? Everybody's been on our show. I mean,
There's a few we're
Ken
still working on.
Billington.
Jules is not yet.
Jules
Jules
not yet.
We're working
Yeah,
on
but Ken's
Jules.
been on the show. A bunch of
Ken's
people been on the
on,
show.
yeah.
Yes, we've had young artists on the show too. So we're definitely, send us your resume.
Adam on the radio.
Send us the resume, right? I mean, I think it'd be great. Stan and I were actually talking about this, about having a special show with like 2 or 3 really, fledgling artists, right? Now I'm assuming you're that, but I shouldn't assume that.
I'm not important, no.
No, neither are we. We just got a podcast. Yeah, now you're very important.
We
I
just have
can't say that.
laptops. That's right. That's our logo.
We do have laptops and a logo, right?
So, are you a lighting designer in the lighting industry?
Yes.
Doing what?
Yes. I'm a freelance designer in St. Louis, and I work for a community arts center in St. Louis as well.
Awesome.
Totally
All right,
important.
great.
All right.
Wait. Do you let girls do lighting? Okay, you're in.
Girls doing the light.
So I'm next.
All right, Brackley's next.
Where's
Go
the
ahead.
$20 bill?
No 20s in there.
What's wrong?
Is there somebody else want?
Not happening.
What is this? Oh my gosh.
Oh, that's a hard
So the
one.
question is, what topic do you guys feel you haven't covered in your 6 years of podcasts?
Wow.
I have to answer that?
Yes.
Culinary. I don't think we've talked about culinary.
Culinary?
Culinary. So food. Yeah.
That's food, Stan.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
But that's a tough question.
No, we've talked about ham. We've talked about a lot of food on our show.
That's not the
I don't
question.
think-
He's asking
I
what
know.
have we not
What
talked
have we
about?
not
What
talked
haven't
about?
covered in 6 years?
What haven't you covered?
Tasteful lighting.
I'm thinking.
I mean, we always talk about
Tasteful lighting.
So
You know,
what streamers you
lately
did
we
once?
started talking about
Yeah.
money.
Well, we've talked a lot about money lately.
talked money-
But what
about
have we
money
not
lately.
What have you
covered?
not covered?
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to think.
Are you trying to say something that we should stop now?
Oh,
Because we could if we wanted.
Speaking of stopping, stop this podcast now.
I'm sorry.
Your trademark has run out.
yeah, thank you.
Wait a minute. The trademark is not expired. You did pay the bill, right?
Enough of you. I don't take orders from you.
Yeah, yes, you do. I write your check.
Well, wait. This is, by the way, this is Snoot,
don't know
our
who this
lawyer.
is?
This is Snoot, our lawyer.
She's the head of the Snoot Group.
Right.
And, we're trademarked, by the way, just so
From this
you
point
know.
forward, you can't use the words light, talk, lumen, or brothers.
Well, what words can we
You
use?
can use with and the, not for something.
Oh, man, Snoot. Oh,
That's so sad.
Tell them who that was.
that's Snoot, our attorney.
Yeah, we had to move from the other firm to the Snoot
Well,
Group.
they kind of,
They merged.
they merged.
We merged.
All right, I'm sorry. Who came up here? Come on up here
That
again.
was stripped
Come up
of
here
our
again. Come
logo.
up here again.
He got his phone.
Yeah, but I want you to introduce yourselves to everybody.
Gary Archer.
Gary Archer. Nice to meet you, Gary. Thank you for coming to the show.
Hi, Gary.
And if you come up with a good name for us,
Thank you.
someone please, because we can't talk about.
Well, the question I have,
like,
what would you want to have covered that we haven't covered?
Yeah, Gary, do you have ideas?
Well, event production services sometimes, because you all are theater
Or theater.
and concerts. So I am in the event production.
So live entertainment.
Like an industrials?
Yeah, I have an idea because you triggered it. We have not talked much about corporate events. In
Right,
fact,
we
we haven't
haven't.
talked about it at all.
Yeah.
No, I think.
Not really.
Oh, you're right.
And we haven't really. We need to bring in somebody like John Featherstone or somebody who does a lot of corporate, because that's a big area.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that's what Philip does.
Yeah.
We're
You
in
do
one
corporate.
right now.
I think Philip, you want to be on the show?
You want me to talk about corporate events?
Yeah, we do.
Like Sandcastles at Comic-Con or Heart of Lighting?
Comic-Con. Yeah, it's comic. Talk about the marijuana cannabis convention.
Well, that was the year where there's too much haze at LDI, but they moved them to the fire marshal.
But we haven't touched that.
No, we haven't.
This year as well.
That's right.
Far on the south.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right. That's right.
Roma didn't come this far.
No.
Yeah.
I was talking to one of the ladies at the, who's the Checkers, right? And she was telling me that she worked at the cannabis convention and it just closed yesterday. And I said, I bet there were more people eating there. And she said, you wouldn't believe it. The lines went back 50, 60 people, you know. So
Cookies went very well.
the
Well, let's
cookies
do that.
went
We're
well.
going to do a show on corporate
Yes,
lighting
we're going
for
to do
corporate
that.
events.
We're going
That's
to
a
do
good
that.
one.
We're going to do it. Thank you
Yeah.
very much for that great idea. Did you get your fez? All right, good.
Are there
All right.
other ideas?
Maybe you'll win and you could be on the show.
There you go.
That would
Are
be
there
awesome.
any other ideas, people that we haven't covered? That's a good question.
I love this. I love this.
Any other ideas what we should cover? All right, okay. More culinary stuff, right, exactly. Okay, who's next? Me?
You are.
Oh, my God. I hope this is one I can answer.
Oh, it's you. Yeah.
On an opera with only one assistant, is it possible, or how do you follow the score and call follow spots? Who answered the question? Come on up here.
Good question.
Oh my God, that is an awesome. Let me grab this.
That's
Come grab your
designed
fez.
for you, that
I
question.
know, isn't that
That
amazing?
question's for
I do
you.
mostly opera.
What's your
name?
Jonathan Scully.
Nice to meet you, Jonathan. Thank you.
And you work opera?
Yes.
Oh man, we should talk.
I'm the lighting supervisor at Florida Grand Opera.
Wait a second.
Florida Grand.
Wait, this is where I got my start.
Really?
Oh God, you've heard. If anyone's listened to our show, I said this all the time.
Last year.
No, it wasn't last year. In 1980, I was graduating, and I went to New York for a portfolio review, and Gilbert Hemsley and Neil Jampoulis and Ken Billington were on my jury. And they asked me what I was going to do after I graduate. And I said, I'm going to come to New York like every other lighting designer in the world does. And they said, no, you're not. And I felt crushed. And Gilbert turned to me and he said, no, you're coming to Miami. You're going to be the assistant lighting director at the Miami Opera, which is what was called before. And that's how I started the career of opera, was working for that company. So
This is my first year there.
as
I
the-
graduated in May.
Oh, wow.
let's
From
talk
where?
after. Because we talk about. Thank you so
From
much.
where? From where?
That's awesome.
Webster University.
Oh,
okay.
good. Clear Sergeant's old hunting
Excellent
ground,
school.
yes.
Sergeant Conservatory.
All right. Okay, this is a great question, man. Okay. First of all, one assistant. I've worked a lot of operas with one assistant. And I've worked some operas with no assistants. Is it possible? Yes, it's possible, but it's very difficult because you can't keep track of everything. You know, when I'm designing, and I'm sure I'm speaking for all of you, and you too out there, is that I need to focus on the art. I need to be watching the stage. I need to be feeling the music, feeling the lighting, watching what's going on, and I can't do this all the time. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I usually have two assistants when I do an opera. I have one assistant usually tracking follow spots, and then another assistant tracking moving lights, which is another very difficult job to do, but very, very important, especially if you're using like more than a dozen moving lights. You really need to know where all those movers are at the same time, at any time. And so that you know, like a lot of times I'll turn to my assistant and ask, what do I have available? What light do I have available? Because they've been tracking it, seeing which ones have been out for a cue or two. And I say, well, what's hitting the chair? Okay, that's fixture 23. Okay. But trying to do that yourself is very, very difficult. So I think it's possible. The older you get, the worse it gets, so let me tell you, because my memory is really shot. Now, I'm a child of the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the aughts. And now, and there's been like this cannabis thing going on for like 40, 50 years, 60 years. So that it does affect your memory, okay? I'm telling you that right now, but also just age. But yeah, it's very, 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 very difficult. Is it possible? I'm sure for someone with a super fast mind, right? Like Anne here.
Oh, no.
Well, by the way, Anne wrote the book on assistants.
Yes.
A lot of you know this. And for our listeners
And their
out
second
there,
edition is out.
the second edition of...
The Assistant Lighting Designer's Toolkit.
That's right, the Assistant Lighting Designers. And all my students have to read that book. And if someone assists me for the first time, I ask them, have you read that book? And if they say no, I say, before you start, you read that book. You'll know everything I need. And I can't believe it's taken this long for someone to be smart enough to actually write this book. So when Ann first wrote it, how many years ago? 6, 7, 8 years ago?
2014. I actually wrote it in 2012. It published in 2014.
And I remember when you were writing it, you and I were talking about it, because I had published a book. Yes, exactly. It's amazing. So if you haven't read it, read it. If you're teaching, require all your students to read it. It is really the one thing that's really going to get people jobs.
And that question is answered in her book.
That's right, exactly.
But you have to buy your book in order to find the answer, right?
I have to say, though, when I'm my own assistant, when I'm also the designer and the assistant, I'm really terrible. Like what David said, you have to watch the stage and you can't do all the stuff. So I'm my own worst assistant. So I have to be somebody else's to be good.
Well, I don't know. You were assistant to a lot of very famous, big people. And you came up with some great new ideas and techniques of assisting, which is, a lot of assistants today a lot of people don't know the history. They don't understand, how important Gene Rosenthal was, or Theron Musser. And especially now with all the new technology that's happening.
It's changed over the years so much.
It really has.
Remember all those tracking sheets we had to do?
Oh my God. I once tracked for Ken Billington. I was his assistant for several shows. And he worked so fast. This is back when he was doing Vegas. He was doing Vegas shows, like Anne Margaret and shows like that, where it was all two-scene presets, right? And he was working, and he only had 3 hours to light a show. And sometimes it was over the show, and then the show opened the next day. And he could call out channels, levels, and I'm and I made the mistake. This is my second show I ever assisted. I didn't know how to assist, right? They didn't train me to be an assistant in school. And the second show, and I said, Ken, please slow down.
Oh my God. Fired.
And he literally looked at me and said, I don't think so.
My students would never say that.
No, I was an idiot. What can I tell you? I had no idea. Never say this to Ken Billington.
That's the one rule in her book. He says, don't say slow down.
I gotta add that one.
Yes, chapter 23. All right, don't say slow down. Okay. So whose turn is it? It's Stan's turn. There you go, Stan. We have 2 more hats. That means 2 more questions.
Blow on it.
It's a good way to keep track.
Oh, I'm going to have to pass on this one because I've only been on the floor for 2 minutes. This says, what is the most promising new technology at LDI you saw this year?
Who said this? Whose question? Come on.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Campbell.
Oh, it's Campbell.
There you go. Pick a fez. Okay.
Oh, it's I have something to say. Yeah. Okay, so I did see this today because I've only been to 2 booths so far, so I'm just getting started. But 4 years ago, we wanted to use a moving light as a shin buster. What's the problem with that? If you put the moving light on the floor, the lens is about 12 inches off the ground. Doesn't work. We need the lens lower. So we thought we were smart. We'll hang the moving light off a sidearm, off the boom, and bring the lens right down to the floor. We're smart, right? No. Because you don't want the light on all night. Every time you repower it, it's got to recalibrate to set the stop. It's going to bang into the floor. You're going to ruin your light. So I was complaining about this to some people at some companies. And then today, I went to see the new ETC product, the Halcyon, whatever they're calling it. And what's his name, was taking me through all the new features and said, and guess what you can do now? You can we have there's a whole bunch of new things with color and this and that, but you can now set the stops to say this is your maximum pan, your maximum tilt. You can do it in the head. So so wherever you put it, if it's in a tight spot, for example, or you want that floor thing that we wanted, you can do it now. So to me, that was a big feature because having a moving light lens at that level for a shin buster to me is small.
Yeah.
But he said it was not easy for them to do. I thought it was just software. They said no, we had to do this and this, and so I'm excited about that capability, particularly because we asked for it And we did a show where we just sat the thing on its base, and yeah, it works as a shin, but not the way it should, not to get down to that dancer's foot. So we were really happy to see that happen.
Right. I was at the Roby booth today. Similar thing. They have a new instrument that does the same thing. There's a key or a switch on the back where it will lock. So if the light goes out when it comes back on, or if you have to lamp it back on, it won't do its crazy thing. It'll just stay right where it is, just like what you're talking about. So there's 2 people out there like that.
That's even better.
That's at the Roby booth. Yeah,
At the Roby booth,
yeah,
okay.
There's a little switch on the back. You can do that, and then the thing will freeze. So whenever it turns on again, it'll stay in that spot.
I got one more. So on that same new technology and that fixture, I'm a big color guy, and they were showing how gradient is a favorite word of mine. So they were saying that the resolution in the color mixing of the CMY on the new fixture, he wouldn't let me have it, this image of the 1976 color space for the color mixing of the new Halcyon, where you give me areas where it's not going to be smooth in transitioning. So they increased the resolution of the color changing, particularly across time in that fixture. And so that I thought was a leap forward in terms of that.
You know, it's interesting. I just opened a show last week where I had movers in a proscenium slot position, which is recessed. You know, this is made for Licos to come and do that. And I wanted to put a mover there. And I said, okay, can you like rig it up so that there's a pipe that goes out about 3 feet, and then you hang the mover on it, and they did, and it worked great. And now, you know, everybody there is at USC, actually, in the Bing Theater. They're all saying now, oh, can we keep those positions?
Yeah,
I said, yeah, because it's a great position. It's a nice high position that you can use a mover and swing all the way upstage. You can even light the audience with it. So, you know.
We're doing that on catwalks in high schools where rather than put a bunch of conventional LED fixtures, we'd rather do 5 movers, but we do have to build out an armature to set that so it can do its thing. Yeah.
I'll add one.
Go ahead.
I just want to applaud ETC for an outdoor fixture.
Yeah.
IP65s.
I've been doing a lot of research into exterior fixtures this year because we're working on something at school, and I'm just really thrilled to see all of the choices that they now have. So that was really promising for me.
Yeah, we've been hearing that for a while, that we're going to see this big influx of outdoor fixtures.
Yeah, everybody's jumping on that IP65
I thought it was going to happen a few years ago, but I think COVID kind of,
It used to be just
up.
SGM and a few others, but now it's becoming ubiquitous, which is nice.
Yeah, SGM, that was it, right? Cool. All right, so we have the last question of the day, and Ann McMills is going to pick it.
I'm so nervous.
I know. Get it right.
Oh, man.
Only one fez left. What are we going to do?
Oh, God. Wait, there's 2. I'm cheating.
Get the one with the $20 bill.
That's not there. What is your phone number? Who wrote that one? No, I guess not. Okay.
Oh, this is a good one. I get it now. When do you say no to a show?
Oh, good question.
Come on up. Come on up, Phil.
Come on up.
All right.
Pick a fez, any fez.
Wow, that's handsome on him.
Good looking guy. Good looking fez. You know, there's a trick to working the tassel.
It's a little bit more than that.
You gotta do that.
I have the name from the metal.
When you graduate, you can move it to the left or the right.
And we should say, after the show, the 4 of you or 5 of you should go in the corner. We'd like to take a picture of everybody.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go. That'd be nice.
We should
Yeah,
get
with us.
We'll post it on the web.
We should do it right in front of here with
We
our
used to have
poster in the back.
Yeah, with our poster.
With our poster in the background.
Where's the lawyer?
Oh,
Okay,
she's back there taking
But we
notes.
ran out of tape, so we can't do
She's
it.
taking notes. Okay.
So maybe we should answer the question.
Good idea.
So when do you say no to a show? I've said no to very few shows, honestly. I like to pay my rent a lot, so. I think I've maybe only said no to it. I mean, if I can't do it calendar-wise, of course that's, a no, because you never want to stretch yourself too thin if it's like right on top of itself, another show. But I think I said no one time to a show that I was very uncomfortable with the director, who I thought was, be honest, he was a nut. He was like, and not in like the good, oh, creative, this isn't going to be an amazing show. Like, this was like somebody who I really felt was a cannon that I wasn't quite sure when it was going to go off. And I'm normally, I work with everybody, that's normally, but I was really worried about this guy. And he was also very thrilled that I knew Hal Binkley and worked for Howell, because he thought, well, I'll do the California one, and then when it goes to Broadway, Howell will take it, which I was like, do we need to say that, like, right away, right?
Wow.
But it was a bad situation all around. It was very, like, the most strange interview I've ever had in my entire life. And I eventually said no, and of course felt riddled with guilt because I never say no. And it turned out that his company went defunct. The theater was literally like chained up with all the rental gear inside. They couldn't get in for like 2 months. It was like a whole thing. So I actually followed my instincts, and it was actually good. So that's the only time I've ever said no, but it was the right thing to do. So that's all I got, I think.
I think that your integrity is more important than anything else. It's not about the money. I was offered a show once. It was not on Broadway, it was a Broadway revival that was going to be playing in Los Angeles. It was a big Broadway show, and everybody was rehired for it except for the lighting designer. And I was like, I knew this lighting designer. He's a very famous lighting designer. And I called him up, and I said, hey, the producer called me, and what's going on here? And he said, yeah, there was a problem with it. He goes, David, go ahead and do it. It's cool. Just don't use any of my ideas, right? So I just said, nah, I just don't feel right doing it. And I didn't do it, right? And it was just as well. I heard it was a disaster anyway. And there are other situations as well. I mean, if you're already booked on a show and then a bigger show comes along, you got to really be careful, because if you cancel out of a contract, that person's going to remember that.
Oh, yeah.
It's a small world that we live in.
It's a small world, and I've always turned those shows down because, I mean, I've had a bunch of offers from Santa Fe Opera, which I've always wanted to work at for many years, but whenever they offered me a show, I would be busy with another show. And the other company that I was working for in the summer, I was really close friends with, and I was with them for finally 24 years. And I finally retired from them last year. And I just knew that I couldn't say no. I couldn't do that to them. So I didn't. I turned down bigger shows that would have made me a lot more money. But I was fortunate. Now, I'm not saying you should do this, because I think Ann is correct. Most of us are freelancers. We are fortunate. All of us, the four of us, all have university gigs.
Day jobs.
All right? And unlike a lot of our colleagues that hurt really bad during COVID, when they lost all their shows, we lost our shows too, but we had a paycheck coming in. So it was an easier way for me to say no at that point, because I knew that I was going to be fine. But I think that you have to consider you have to consider the type of business that we're all in and say, look, I got to feed the family. I got to take care of my people. And I think when that happens and you explain it to the producer that you're canceling out on, I think that people will understand in most cases. But you just have to understand that it could have ramifications.
So Santa Fe next year for you?
We'll see if they
Santa
call.
Fe Opera?
I think they stopped calling me for Santa Fe. Okay.
I think I have two principles on this question. One is maybe more related to theater, and one is maybe more related to my broader work in theater consulting. The first principle is, if the content of a production or a project would not square with my own personal values and principles, even if I was young, because I used to ask myself this question when I was in my 20s and 30s, would I take a show if the content of the show espoused a set of principles or values that I could not ascribe to, even if I needed the money? And the answer always came back as no, I would not. So it's sort of knowing what your own principles and values are and then weighing that against whether it's a person or the content of the production. That's been clear for me. And then the other one I learned from my insurance carrier.
Snoot? What? No.
No, that's
wasn't
our
Snoot.
attorney.
But to get the 10% discount on the liability insurance, you got to go to these classes. So I would do that because I'm cheap. I want to get the 10% discount. But I'll always remember this one. When deciding whether to take a project, your greatest liability is your client, whether it's the director, the producer, the theater, the architect in my case. So you sort of evaluate who they are, what they are, and say, are they going to be, here's an example. I've never done any church work. No offense to anybody who's into church. But every time I get a church project and somebody says, the preacher is designing the bathroom, how that's going to work. And I'm like, no,
Big
the
mistake.
architect needs to do that. So you can kind of see there's going to be a level of micromanagement on that project. You can kind of get an instinct that this is not going to go smoothly. If you have to take it, triple your fee, because there's going to be what we call the aggravation factor. But I think I evaluate the client in any situation and make a decision. So content and client are the two things.
Yeah, I gotta defend the churches because I've done a
You
lot.
had the opposite
I've done a
experience.
lot of church
Yeah.
work, and I must say I met the nicest people in the world, and I think it was really great because I kind of felt the same way at first, Stan, and there were some situations like that, and maybe you just got real bad situation. You were unlucky.
So this was the guy who was burning the Quran, literally.
Right. No,
Okay,
I worked with some really nice people, really good people. And yeah, there's a lot of people really aren't experts, in what we do. And they always like to say, well, you hear producers doing this for God's sake, we want to change this, we want to change that. And they said, no, just let the director deal with this, please. Don't kill that production number. So I think that it's just different. You have to just take it show to show. But I agree with you about being moral. I think it's very, very important. We are out of fezzes. You know what that means?
That means we have the raffle.
Exactly. Now's the time to see who won the Lumen brother or sister
Or person.
yeah. Right, of the day. So if the people who got your fezzes, turn them over and look at inside, there's a little label in the and all the way in the top of it. And if it has a black dot, you have won. Guess who's going to be on our show?
The person that asked the question, can I be a Lumen brother on the show, won the
I know! Isn't that weird?
2 years in a row, it's been fixed.
I have a question about election integrity. No, just
Election integrity. I think this was totally random.
That is random.
I think this is like serendipitous, and I think it's fantastic. Before you leave, please give us your contact info.
I mean, that's
Well, they're gonna
magic.
take your
That's
pictures over there.
fantastic.
Oh, yes, we're going to take
Yeah.
our pictures together.
That's
Okay?
Lumen magic right
That's
there.
amazing.
Is that Lumen magic? Oh my God!
I mean, he wanted to do that. How do I get to be on the show and boom, he wins?
I just don't understand how something like that could happen.
I don't.
You've got one line right here. Stan,
I see it in green.
it's in green. That's you. He's color
We would
coded.
love to thank you all for joining us at the Lumen Brothers Live show here at LDI 2022.
And you know what that music is. What is that music, David? Well, the rocking sounds of the Luminoids tells us that once again you've spent another afternoon listening to Light Talk. You can hear our show on Spotify, iTunes, Google, YouTube, LiveDesignOnline.com, Amazon Prime Music, and just about every podcast site out there. Check out our website on lighttalk.org for future guests, and be sure to follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our podcast. That way you will not miss a second of Light Talk insanity.
And remember that no guarantee is offered regarding the accuracy of any statements or opinions made on this podcast. However,
If you do decide to litigate, the Snooch Group, with the legal team of Sparks, Burnout, and Chase, will defend us until our retirement funds are depleted.
Light Talk is written and produced by the Lumen Brothers and SISTAH, coming to you this week from Las Vegas, Nevada.
And be sure to join us next week when we talk about more lighting shenanigans and serve you more of our casserole of nonsense.
Light Talk is still broadcasting questionable lumen knowledge and humor around this
So we'll
world.
see you all next Saturday morning. Thanks for the great audience at LDI. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.